Hello BMW riders. Today we're working on this 2014 BMW R1200RT motorcycle. I am going to do valve check on this bike. Also, I am going to replace the spark plugs, and I will perform some other 20,000 kilometer maintenance work. This BMW motorcycle has newest generation water-cooled boxer engine, so-called wethead engine. First thing that you have to do, like on the previous generation boxer engines or previous generation R1200 bikes, you have to put the bike in the 6th gear. And to put the bike in the 6th gear, simply just go up. We're in 6th gear. Valve cover removal begins from removing the spark plug cover and the injector cover. You have to remove these screws, 1 and 2. Disconnect the ignition coil and pull the ignition coil. To pull the ignition coil, I'm using this tool. There are many tools available in the market for ignition coil pull. This is the same tool as you use for previous models. Here we go. Here's the ignition coil. Next step, removal of the spark plug. It's in that hole. For that purpose, I'm going to use thin wall 14mm socket. Need some extension here. Spark plug. I'm going to replace the spark plug too. Put it aside. Next step is removal of these 3 screws. Make sure you use an oil pan to catch dripping oil. Valve cover removed. Clean the oil from the valve cover. Put it aside. Let's take a closer look what's under the valve cover. So this is the intake cam here. 2 valves right in there. This is the exhaust cam, and 2 valves are right in there. For the valve check, you have to check the gaps between the cam follower that's in there, in here, and underneath. Here are the valve clearance specs for the exhaust and inlet valves. Before proceeding on the valve check, you have to make sure that both valve covers are removed and both spark plugs are removed. This way it will be easier to rotate the engine. Engine rotation will be done with the help of the rear wheel. Before you start measuring valve clearance, you have to make sure that none of the cams are pushing on the valves, and you have to make sure that the piston is at its top position. There is a special tool to measure TDC, so-called top dead position of the engine, but I'm just simply use a straw, and I'm gonna rotate the rear wheel. So I want to make sure that the piston is in its top position. So I keep rotating the engine, and I feel that the piston is going down. So I'm gonna rotate a little bit more and make sure that the piston in the cylinder is coming back. So the straw is gonna be touching the piston. Here we go. And the piston is coming back. And right now it's in top position. Now if you take a closer look at the cams, you can see that the cams are not touching the cam followers here, there, and for the exhaust right there. This is where you measure the gaps or the valve clearance. Okay, so first we're gonna measure the intake valve clearance. For this purpose, I'm gonna measure if the valve is not loose, which means I'm going to put together my 0.07 mil and a 0.10 mil feeler gauges together so that they make 0.17, which is the maximum allowable gap on the intake valves. And I just want to make sure that it's a no-go here. 0.17, it's a no-go here. And it's a no-go here. I would like to measure the exact gap, so I'm gonna keep playing with my feeler gauges until I find the exact valve clearance, and I will record it. This is a 0.15 feeler gauge, and on the intake it's a go here. And here it's a go too. I'd like to see if 0.16 is a go too. Since I don't have 0.16 feeler gauge, I just put together two feeler gauges that are 0.08. That's gonna give me 0.16, and let's see if it's a go. It's a very hard go, but it's still a go. Here. All right, let's try the 0.17. Okay, so 0.08 plus 0.09, and it's a no-go. It's a no-go. And it's a no-go. Which means that I have to record 0.16. For the exhaust valve clearance, to access this valve here, you have to remove this little rubber here. Just put it aside, and let's measure the gap here. For the exhaust, I'm going to use 0.4 gauge, which is just by 0.01 millimeter thinner, and I want to make sure that it's a no-go. 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 Let's see if 0.35 is a go. 0.35. 0.35 is a go. It's a very snug go, and it's a go here too. Since 0.35 is a go and 0.4 is a no-go, the clearance is somewhere between 0.36 and 0.39. Let's try to figure out the exact clearance here. So 0.3 and 0.06, I have to use two feeler gauges here. So it's a very snug go, 0.06 and 0.30, which makes 0.36 on the exhaust. So I've just measured the valve clearances on the right cylinder here, and clearances appear to be fine. The exhaust clearance is 0.36, which is within tolerance, and intake clearance is 0.16 and 0.16, so that's also within tolerance. I'm gonna move to the other side of the motorcycle, and I'm gonna check the left cylinder now, and it's basically the same procedure. To adjust the valves, you would have to remove the cams here, loosen the screws here, make sure of the position of the cams, remove them, and there are little discs or little shims that are under the cam followers, and they're of different thickness, so you have to make sure that you buy either a thicker shim if you need to make the valve tighter, or a thinner shim if you need to release the valve. When you're done measuring valve clearances on both sides, it's time to put the bike back together. You start with this little rubber piece that we removed to check the exhaust valves. You just simply put it right in here, and it kind of attaches right in there. When you put the valve cover back on, make sure you kind of clean the oil from inside here. Make sure the gasket is dry. Clean the oil. These are pretty good gaskets. There's no need to replace them if they're not leaking. Use the T50 socket. First you hand tighten it, and then torque to 10 Newton meters. I'm going to replace the spark plugs. These spark plugs are very thin, and they have a long thread. They take a very light torque, only 12 Newton meters. That's it. When reinstalling the ignition coils, I usually use dielectric tune-up grease, just a little bit. Protects from corrosion and increases the contact, and using the pull tool. All the way in. Reconnect the connector. Reinstall the fuel injector cover. And the last step is reinstalling the spark plug coil cover. Simple as that, and there's one screw that goes in here. I hope this video was useful. If you have any questions or need help with your BMW motorcycle, email at info@alsmotorrad.com. I'm located in Mississauga, Ontario. Thank you for watching.